I was working with a young couple the other day, and the guy asked me an important question. He asked, when you get married, what do you do about your money? Whose money's whose, who pays for what? Really, what he was asking was, what's mine, what's her responsibility, what's mine? And I thought it'd be something I'd go ahead and address today. If we haven't met before, my name's Alex Franks, and I've spent 29 years as a life coach, therapist, and I've got some thoughts on this topic, and it may seem old-fashioned, and that's okay, because I've watched the impact of money in relationships. And I'm probably going to make several videos concerning money down the road, but today I'm just going to address what to do about what he makes, what to do about she makes. Now, I'm speaking about marriage here, but I also believe that this is applicable for those people who are living together and aren't married. So I'll speak to this as what I think is best for married couples, but it applies for other situations. Here's my main point. There is no my money, her money in a marriage. There's no I make this, she makes that. There is no my, hers. All money should be in one central account, except, and I'll come to that at the end. Yes, there should be money for both people, and we'll talk about that. But in general, all money should come together in one pool. You have one set of bills for your household. It doesn't matter if you brought debt into the relationship. Those are agreed things before the relationship. All money's combined. Your bills are combined. It's one pot of money. Now, I'm going to give a basic disclaimer here. Maybe more to cover myself legally than anything. I am not a financial planner. I am not a financial attorney. I am not a CPA. I will say that if you have a complex inheritance, if you have trust funds, if there are some other extenuating circumstances, some tax liability or some business liability, and you're part of some LLCs that keep you from being able to combine, please seek out your financial planner, your attorney, your CPA to make sure that legally you're covered. That being said, I'm going to talk about why you put your money together. The biggest issue is trust. If I'm going to be in a relationship with this person, I'm going to live with this person, I'm going to commit to a lifetime with this person, why is money different in that commitment? Think about it a different way. Who of us wants to be in a relationship, wants to be married, and hear this? I want 90% of you. Or I'm going to give you 90% of me. You don't get all of me. You can have me physically, you can have my fun, you can have my doubts, you can have my fears, you can have my hurts, you can have my extended family, you can have my friends, you can have to deal with my hobbies, my passions, my hopes, my dreams, but I can't believe in you enough to deal with money. Think about the message that sends. It really says, I can't commit fully to you, which then also says I can't fully trust you. That's issue number one. It creates a lack of trust. Here's the second thing. If you don't combine your money together, it creates questions. Where'd that money go? What'd you do with that money? I thought you had $800. How come you only have $400? Where'd you get the money to buy that? I confess that every now and then an Amazon package shows up on my porch. If our money wasn't together, I might be more inclined to ask questions about that. I kind of know what my wife's Amazon habit is. She kind of knows what mine is too. I may not buy the things she buys, but I'm also not a third grade teacher. So she usually knows every now and then there's going to be some sailing supplies. There's going to be a little something, but if it comes to a decent amount of money, we're going to talk about it. My wife just bought things, and I think this is a big point with keeping questions down, is keeping your money together keeps you from asking questions about where the money went because you're talking more often about the money. My wife needed some things for her third grade classroom the other day, and she gave me a call and said, hey, I'm getting ready to order this. I need this and this for my classroom. I think it's going to be about $65. Oh yeah, no worries. No big deal. Thanks for letting me know. Almost immediately, I got another phone call. And this is the point. This is how trust is built by combining money, and it keeps questions from being asked. Almost immediately, my phone rang again. And my wife said, oh my gosh, I also had to get this. I forgot. Now our bill is going to be $110. She didn't leave it where there could be a question. She communicated so I knew. Everything's up front. It's above board. It keeps us out of questions. The minute money's separated, you don't know where money goes. You're left out of the loop. You're unsure. Creates questions. Put it together, communicate. You're going to have a lot more success. Here's another area of real concern to me when you have money that's separate. It immediately puts you in temptations. And I know we don't like to say those words, temptation, except for that's exactly what it is. If my partner doesn't know what I do with my money, I'm much more likely to maybe, in a moment of weakness, in a moment I'm not thinking, in a moment I'm tired, in a moment I'm mad, all of a sudden make a money decision that I know my partner wouldn't support. My wife needs to be on board with everything I do money-wise. But all of a sudden, if I have all kinds of my own money that she can't tell me what to do with, how easy would it be for me to do things that she wouldn't like, approve of, or be supportive of? It puts us in a tempting position. And you start adding questions on top of a lack of trust, on top of I can make whatever choice I want to make, and pretty soon you have a recipe for disaster. I've watched money issues tear lots of relationships apart. One of the keys to me to keep that from happening is put that money together in one account, one set of bills, and regularly talk about your money with each other. Regularly, weekly, talk about money. Here's where we are. Here's our goals. Here's our dreams. Here's our plan. My wife and I are going to Hawaii in a year. We're going to celebrate our 35th wedding anniversary. And we're already talking about the budget for that trip. We're a year away. We're talking about exact costs. We're talking about what we need to save and how to save it. We're talking about what it's already saved. Now, my wife doesn't spend a lot of time talking about the saving of the money, but in our money situation, in our communication with it, she knows that if it's time to save money, she gives me that task. Not only gives it, it's a task that I appreciate. And so I like to work on that, but then I keep her fully in the loop of how we're going along with it, if that makes sense. I said I'd come back to his and her money. And I think that a lot of people, especially young couples that get together and they get engaged and then they get married, one of the things they immediately miss is what's mine and what's theirs, his and hers. They had this independence and now they feel a lack of independence. And actually, one way to help you keep that independence is actually create his and her money. What I mean by that is you have one pool of money, and then you both know kind of how much each partner can just have to spend on their own. My wife and I used to joke when we were much younger, and we said we have an allowance. We each got an allowance. And that sounds childlike, but it was just a funny way for us to kind of say that's our money to do with what we want. And when we were younger, we didn't have much in our allowance. I admit there's more in our allowance today, although we don't really address it as allowance anymore. We know we have our own money, and that's okay. But all of our money comes together, and then the money we use apart comes out of that. So I know that even if it's kind of free money to do with what I want, I'm never spending more than $100 without my wife knowing, even if it's my money. And I hope I'm making sense with this distinction between you put everything together, and then if you agree, you talk about it and you say, oh, I would like $200 a month. I would like $250 a month. It doesn't even have to be an equal amount. Whatever the other party needs. My wife teaches school 8 blocks from our house. I, on the other hand, travel often for my business, and I'm going around and I may need a meal. I may want a cup of coffee. I might go out to lunch with someone. There's some other expenses that come to the front when you're traveling and you're driving around that maybe my wife doesn't have. So maybe I'm going to have a little more of that free money, so to speak, than my wife does. But that's an agreed on topic. And the amounts are agreed on. Your first priority is your household and what you need. Then you can have some money for wants, but it has to be talked about. If you're going to separate any money, that has to be talked about, planned. So I'll recap real quick. What do you do about money when you're in a committed relationship, when you're married? Put it all in one pot, unless your tax attorney, your legal attorney says something different. Put it together. It creates trust. Keeps there from being questions about what you're doing and doubt. And it keeps you out of temptation to hide things from your partner. Fourth, have a little allowance. You're working, you're busy, you're doing things. It's okay to have a little on your own money, but make sure that's agreed on so it doesn't become a barrier for your relationship. Hope this information helped you. If it did, please like, comment, subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Remember, we're here to serve others, care deeply, love our people. And if you've got a question, why not ask?